Over the past week, my eldest has been collecting some of his quail eggs, and we've got 18 of them now that have built up. So what we're going to do is we are going to get all the eggs that he's got from his quail enclosure that he's collected here, and we're going to pop them in the incubator and see if we can get some of them to hatch. Now, I will say this may or may not be successful because we have only 3 girls now. They're all kind of getting a little long in the tooth, so they're probably about 3.5 years old now. And we've only got 1 male in with the 3 girls as well. And the male that we have, you don't hear him crowing too much these days from down in the enclosure. And that's why we're thinking it's definitely overdue that we try and get a few more quail in this flock, but it may be a little too late. So let's give it a go. And worst case scenario, if we don't get any successful hatching, we'll buy some more eggs online and we'll get a few more going in the flock. So let's get them in the incubator. So this is the incubator that we use. It's one of the Borotto incubators. We used to use one of the older eBay ones, and that was also not too bad as well, but last year we kind of splashed out and got this one as a special gift from Santa for the family. And yeah, so far we haven't had a lot of success with it because we didn't do quails last year, as you can probably tell, because as I said, the flock has got quite small. And we had to go at doing our ducks last year, thinking that one of the ducks we'd raised was a male. Turns out he is actually a she. And of course, all the eggs just kind of went stinky in the incubator and nothing hatched because we didn't have a male. So this is the first time we're going to have a decent go. And hopefully that male that we've got down in the quail pen at the moment is doing a job still and we actually get some hatching. Now, as this has been packed away, we're going to have to get it set up. So let's pull out all the bits. First of all, we've got the lid there, the power cord, and what's pretty nifty with these ones is that it also comes with a 12 volt. So if you need a different power supply, it does come with that one as well. And then what we've got to do is kind of sit this tray in. Actually, we'll put this little water protector in there first. There's 2 of those. So where's the other one? There we go. There's our other one. That goes on this side. And then this tray here kind of sits in on these little bits here. And it is important to sit it in there properly because this one here will actually turn the eggs with this little turner. So what we need to do is just make sure that these bits here are sitting right in the little slots. And there we go. You can see how that's sitting in there in each one of those. So my eldest is going to start loading up the incubator now. And do you want to start popping those in, buddy? So how are you going to load those up?
Narrow side pointing down.
Aha, good point. So when you pop them in, the tip is to have the narrow side pointing down. All right. Now, because we're not going to get a full tray, I actually think it's probably worth loading them up more towards the middle because you do tend to find the middle areas in these incubators have more stable temperature. And it's just because you've got less of the edge effect of cooling and heating that you can get around the edges. Not necessary, but it may help. And given we're likely to have a pretty poor hatch rate, that's kind of my guess on all this, it's probably worth doing everything we can to try and improve it. Good job. Oops, I nearly forgot to do one thing there. This bit in the bottom here is the hatching grate, and you actually use that when the chicks are hatching at the later stage. That comes out now, so I'll take that out and then these can go back in. So I've relocated inside now to where we're going to do the incubating of these eggs. We don't want to do it outside because there's too much fluctuation in temperature, especially in the summertime like it is at the moment. And when you're incubating eggs, you want as much stability as you can. So this little spot inside is probably my best bet for a stable temperature. So at this stage, there's a couple more things we need to do to set up the incubator. One is to pop in some water. So we take these little covers off and we just need to pour water in. Yep, I remember it now. It doesn't take an awful lot. So just be careful not to overfill like I did. So let's do the other side at the back and fill that one up as well. And each time you fill, just pop those little covers back on top. That stops dust and stuff like that getting in there and contaminating the water. Actually, if I take the lid off, you'll be able to see where that water actually goes into like a little reservoir inside. There we go. And the whole idea with that is that's going to help maintain some humidity in there when I pop the eggs in. The next thing I need to do is plug in the cords, and there's two that we need to do. There's this one here, which is the cord to the egg turner, and that just goes in the top here. Nice and fun always with one hand. And the other one is our power cord, so that's this one here. And that one will also just plug into the back. And then I can plug that in. So I now need to make sure the temperature is set correctly, and for hatching quail you want it to be 37.5 degrees Celsius. So it's currently 22.4, but let's see what it's set at. Okay, 37.5. So I've just had it display what it's set at by just clicking on one of the buttons. So I don't need to adjust that. I've obviously got the temp there from the last time I used this. I'm not going to pop my quail eggs in quite yet. It's easy to get a little eager and just pop them straight in, but you do need to preheat this a bit first. So they kind of say it's a good idea to keep it going for a couple of hours, and then once it's at temp, that's when you want to pop in your quail eggs. We've had this running now for a couple of hours. It's at the 37.5 degrees Celsius temp. There's probably a bit of humidity in there as well, but of course we're going to lose that when we lift the lid anyway. But what it means is it's time now to pop these eggs in the incubator. The eggs are now in, and again we've made sure that it's sitting properly in these little, I don't know what we call those, little slots, let's go with that. And there's also a little piece on the side here, a little metal piece that one of these actually slots into. That controls the turner, so it's also on that. So what that will do is just turn these eggs kind of from side to side over the next, well, between 16 and usually about 19 days, because that's how long it takes for quail eggs to hatch. What we do is we just kind of leave it be, and every so often we'll just check and make sure that there's still water in here to maintain the humidity. And on about day 16, or maybe 15, I'll open it up and I will actually take these eggs out of these little egg turners, and we'll put that tray that I showed you earlier back in. And that means that if they do start hatching, they're not going to be on this turner that could potentially hurt our little quails. So there's our lid back on. It'll probably take a little bit just to come back up to temp now, but we'll leave this for another 15, 16 days, and I'll come back to you then and show you how we lock down these eggs. Our quail eggs have been in the incubator now for about 8 days, and I thought it was about time that I came into a dark space and candled the eggs. And candling is basically where you shine some light through the eggs to see if there's any development of chicks inside. Now, unfortunately, when we have a bit of a close look, so I've just got a torch here, I'll just pop that underneath our egg. When we do that, we see that there's not a lot of activity going on inside this egg. In fact, there's no activity whatsoever going on inside this egg. And I have actually candled all of the eggs, and that's the case with all of them. So I think I mentioned at the start of this video that I wasn't quite sure if this would work or not. And there's a couple of reasons. The male that we have, Tux is his name, is an absolutely beautiful, gentle male which is not usually the case with males. They're usually pretty, let's say, shag happy, and we don't see our ladies get a lot of action from this fellow, and I suspect that's why we're not seeing any development in any of these eggs. And the other thing is they are all getting to a bit of an age now, so they're all probably over about 3.5 years old. Some we actually got as adults a few years ago, and there was also a couple of batches that my son hatched. So this is about the 3rd season that we could have kind of bred off these guys. And the reality is, I think we've just waited too long. The first couple of years is really ideal for breeding your quail. So we're going to call this one a quail fail, I'm afraid, guys. No baby chicks this year from our eggs. So what that means is we're actually going to have to purchase some more eggs to be able to incubate our next lot of chicks. And we just need to have a bit of a think on whether we do that this season over the summer, or maybe if we just keep our flock that we have for this year and then get some eggs, and next summer hatch up a few more chicks and get everything going again. So hopefully you still found this informative. It doesn't always work when you go to hatch things. Sometimes things do go wrong, and yeah, this video definitely demonstrates a few of the things that have gone wrong for us in this hatch. So if you've got quails, don't wait a few years to get some young off them. Definitely get onto the breeding nice and early. And even though you might have those gentle, beautiful males that are wonderful pets in your flock, they're not necessarily going to be the best breeders for you. So even though it was a quail fail, hopefully you picked up a few tips. Thanks for joining, and catch you later.